Hello everyone, this is Azraelis, and we are back again with some more Warframe. Today we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at Saryn and the way that I build her nowadays. She's actually an amazing Warframe. She's unbelievable on many circumstances. And we're going to go ahead and go over her. And part of the reason we're doing this is because a really nice commenter in my Rhino Prime video let me know that I didn't actually talk about my Brack. I actually got distracted by Mephistopheles and forgot to tell you guys how I build it. So we'll go ahead and we'll go over that because something a little bit less likely is actually what's really important about this Brack. So I'm looking forward to telling you about it. So let's go ahead and let's get into the build. What we've got here, guys, is we've got a rejuve. That's one of the big things I want to let you know about Saryn. Back in the day, I used to run physiques and stuff like that, but once you're talking about getting your stuff maxed out, really there's not a real big purpose in running a physique because you're going to get far more benefit in the long run off of having health regeneration for you and your team. So keep that in mind. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is this is obviously a miasma spam build. I've reduced the power duration, and I have some extra power efficiency, and we've got a miasma. So obviously I'm running a miasma build. What I want to really touch base on here, guys, is you really need to think about what you're doing when you're going ahead and you are thinking about how you're going to run your miasma. When you're running, you can run an overextended, and you can have a really good range on your miasma. But at the end of the day, guys, that CC that happens from her isn't really going to be as effective as, like Frost Avalanche and the CCs that come from Nyx and all those kind of things, and Reckonings and all those kind of things. They're all going to be, those are going to outclass this CC in quite a bit. So the only way that we can go ahead and actually address that is to go ahead and go for damage with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with a stretch, because you really do need a stretch. You really do. The natural range on miasma really is not that great, so you'd end up having to be in like pretty much melee range to have a good chance to do some good damage. So we're going to pop a stretch on there, of course. We're also going to use a 1 from the top blind rage, which is going to give us 90% power strength and minus 50% power efficiency. We're going to counteract that power efficiency with our fleeting expertise, and we're going to add 30% extra from our streamline. This is also going to give us the minus 50% power duration that we need for miasma and molt, and we'll get into that in a second. So we are going to have a considerable amount of damage come out of this miasma, and we're going to also have a considerable amount of damage come out of the molt. Another little hint. But before we get into talking about molten venom, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this steel fiber vitality. One of the things that you got to understand is that to be a good Saryn, you're going to need to be down there. You're going to need to be in there in the thick of it, dealing with some decently medium to close range combat. And that's because of the not quite so good range on miasma. If you want to actually have this thing be incredibly effective, you kind of need to be down there in the thick of it. Not necessarily going crazy like a Rhino or anything, but you do need to kind of be down there. So what we're going to do is we're running the Steel Fiber and Vitality, which is going to bring us up to 325 armor and 940 health. That might make a lot of people nervous, just seeing that this is our only form of tankiness. But I assure you, all things will make sense very soon. What I want to talk about with Molt, guys, is the fact that it can actually be used as a remote mine. What you're able to do with this skill is you're able to go ahead and recast it to explode the one you originally placed. Which, when this thing explodes, it goes ahead and it explodes with a burst amount of damage, and then it has a 100% status chance for Toxin to continue that damage on. But this is the real big point, guys. When you're getting into your strategery, you're getting in there and you're trying to figure out, exactly how you can maximize the capabilities of your Saryn. One of the things that's slightly lesser known about Molt is that if you let it last for its entire duration and it explodes because of its duration ending, it will actually deal 2 instances of its damage. Therefore, increasing the amount of blast damage that comes out of it, well, I don't think it's blast damage, but it's the amount of damage it does burst, and increasing the amount of dot as well. Really, really nice. So what we've done here is we've gone ahead and we've reduced this thing's power duration by 20%. Now we only have a 10-second long molt, which is way more than enough time to help us get out of a bad situation. So we're not really taking anything away from the molt at all. And its health also is applicable to our power strength. So we are actually having a very, very strong molt that has a very, very good likelihood to survive until its ending duration. Really amazing. It's so much fun getting into the strategy of using this thing. You know, you see a wave of infested coming in, you know, and you're like, okay, it's going to take them about 6 seconds to get over here. I don't think they can take it down in another 4. So you go ahead and you place it over there. They all start piling up around it, and then boom, all of them have this dot damage on them. Very, very nice. When you couple this thing in right alongside of using miasma, boom, you got tons and tons of AoE damage going on. So the last thing we need to talk about is incredibly important, and that is Venom. And this is where the Brack is coming into this build. A lot of people like to dog on this ability. They like to say, hey, we need, you know, you should add CC or something like that to this because it's useless. Guys, the dot damage that it deals is pretty darn useless. It's really, really low. Even with a really high amount of power strength. Even if I had this and an Intensify on here, it would make it so that it would be meh. It's alright. You know, it's nothing, you know, it's not going to, you know, turn any heads there. What I do want to say, though, is that Venom is one of the only, it's literally the only Warframe ability that can apply a viral status proc. And that is huge. Guys, what we're going to do here, one of the biggest mistakes people can make with Venom is they can go ahead, they will put Venom on them, and then they will shoot that target with a really high-powered weapon and immediately drop them. If you kill the target without popping the spores that grow from Venom, you've just wasted your Venom. It's no longer going to do anything. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to use Venom on priority targets the moment we see them. And then we are going to hit them from a decent amount of range with the Brack. The Brack has a nice bit of spread, but it has a wonderful function of actually having damage fall off. That pretty much guarantees that we're not going to kill that target, but we are going to pop those spores. Therefore, when you pop a Venom spore, it will go ahead and spread to targets around them. Therefore, you will end up with these whole entire waves of people who are showing up who have spores all over them. Also, something else that should be noted is that it does 25% damage when it, or 25 damage when it explodes. Not really that big, but I mean, if you got a whole wave of guys out there and you're hammering into them with a Brack, you know, and there's like, you know, 9 or 10 of these things out there, that's a decent amount of blood, or a decent amount of burst damage right there. It's nothing to scoff at. And when you layer all of these kind of concepts together, that's when you start realizing just how insane the damage capabilities are. But that all being said, momentary, you know, hesitation for emphasis here, we still are having CC via molt. We still have about a 2-second long hard CC from miasma. This lady's amazing. When you have a good Saryn in your group, you darn well know, not only is their targets melting, the like light targets melting, you have CCs going off all over the place. When she knows how to use her molt, there's going to be dot damages rolling as well. And that's not even going into the fact that you're going to have some viral procs going too. Really amazing. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the weaponry. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about the primaries. If you guys want to see how I run my Soma, I could open this up for a second. Very, very simple, very straightforward. I go for an 8.4 times critical multiplier on this thing with a maxed out speed trigger. It's really just going for max. Sorry guys, I still have a cold. We're going for a maxed out speed trigger so that we can get as much DPS as possible out of this weapon. Now, when we go to the Brack, and this is what you guys wanted to see last time, the way I run my Brack, there's one really important thing, and I'm sorry for the background noise. We have the Barrel Diffusion, Lethal Torrent, and Hornet Strike up here, which is the 3 that we're always going to use pretty much on every secondary. Then we've got Convulsion and Pathogen rounds, which are going to go ahead and give us a considerable amount of corrosive damage. And then I run a Scorch and an Ice Storm. The Ice Storm is very important because you really want to bump this thing up to having 7 shots in the mag. That's going to make it much more useful to you and make it much more versatile. But the most important thing about the way that I run my Brack is I run it with Seeker. And you guys don't have to run it with a maxed out Seeker. I run it with a maxed out Seeker because I got 3 Formas on this thing and I got the extra points to do so. So, it's like night and day, guys. When using punch through on your Brack as opposed to not, there's really no point. It's pretty much, to me, it's a waste running it without punch through. Because all you're doing is you're doing great DPS to the front guys in the line. That doesn't make any sense. I'm using up 8 points right here to go ahead and be able to attack multiple enemies behind the ones that I'm shooting initially with this weapon. Very, very good. This has an insanely high DPS potential. When you pop this onto like a Rhino with a maxed out Roar build, he will just wipe entire rooms with his Roar on. It is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Can't recommend using this thing enough. That's pretty much it, but we have one more. The answer as to why I am using armor and health. We're going to be running a Lifestrike Dragon Nakana. Now, guys, what this means, because to be honest, guys, I never use any melee in high-level content unless it is for utility purposes. I do not. I have much higher damage potential on every single Warframe that I play when I'm not in melee combat. So, what I have this for, because I do want to stay in close range with my Saryn, I want to be able to tank some shots. And the beautiful thing about Saryn is she has both Molt and a 2-second CC, hard CC, out of miasma. What that allows me to do, guys, is whatever damage I did take from the initial wave showing up, I can go ahead and heal myself with 2 strikes from this Dragon Nakana. I can quite simply drop my Molt, go ahead, use my miasma, pull out my melee weapon, swipe, back at max health, and I'm backing off to go ahead and start hammering into him with my Brack again, or my primary, whatever that may be. You guys can go ahead and do the math yourself. 20% lifesteal on a weapon that has an 855 slash base damage. I believe the way you calibrate Lifestrike is you simply take the entire base damage of the weapon, and then it's 20% of whatever the damage was that you did right then. So this will give you a good guesstimate. Of course, guys, if I was fighting against, or if I was swiping into an infested guy, I would be getting more. You know, I would get less off of Heavy Gunner, you know, those kind of things. But to be perfectly honest, guys, the combination of the Lifestrike Dragon Nakana and the Rejuvenation makes her insanely tanky. I'm sorry, guys, it's the cold. Insanely tanky. So, there you go. Definitely try this build out, guys. It is amazing. She is so good. And rocking her with some serious business damage on her is just sweet. Go ahead and try it out. That was a 1 Forma build, guys. I put 1V polarity on her. So, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Azraelis. I got a whole bunch more videos going to be coming out here real soon because I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better and I don't feel like I have a head full of cold medicine. So, thank you guys for watching. Peace out, guys. I'm Azraelis, and I'm out of here.